I didn't expect my Ruby wedding to end in ruins, but I should have. Maybe I'd known it for years, buried deep beneath the routines and the rehearsals of our marriage. Maybe some part of me had already mourned what Delilah and I were supposed to be. Still, the way it happened, the coldness, the precision, cut deeper than I imagined anything could after 4 decades. The Willamere Country Hall shimmered like a page out of a luxury magazine. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above, casting golden light on guests dressed in their finest. The music, soft and stately, curled through the air like incense. Servers weaved gracefully between tables, refilling champagne flutes and clearing empty appetizer plates. Everything had been planned to perfection. 40 years of marriage, 40 years of showing up. Loyalty etched in every tired compromise, and I stood there in my navy tuxedo, a small orchid pinned to my lapel, smiling at people I hadn't seen in decades. Our children, grown and successful, made speeches. Our friends from college raised glasses. There were hugs, laughter, even a few tears, but none of it prepared me for what she was about to do. Delilah stood beside me in that deep burgundy gown, chosen to match the ruby theme. Her hair was swept into a graceful updo, her lips painted to match the wine in her glass. She was elegance personified. Always had been. And then, as the room settled into that expectant hush, she took the microphone. With that same graceful poise she used at gala fundraisers, campaign events, and book launches. She smiled. 40 years, she began. People clapped. I smiled. Cautiously. 40 years of memories, of partnership, of showing up, she continued. Then she turned to me. Our guests leaned in slightly, expecting a sweet anecdote, maybe a tearful thank you. I felt her hand brush mine, and then she said it. I never loved you. Not a day in 40 years. Silence. Her voice was calm, surgical, precise. You were just convenient, she added, as if that would somehow soften the blow. Around us, forks dropped onto plates. A champagne flute shattered in someone's hand. My son Marlon looked between us with horror. My daughter Elise blinked rapidly, as if trying to wake from a dream. The room froze, and still. I didn't flinch. My body wouldn't let me. My hands went cold, and my heart hammered once. Then settled into something eerily calm. I turned toward her slowly, my eyes locking onto hers. There was no regret in her gaze, no glee either, just certainty, the kind that comes from years of calculation. She was done pretending. Finally, and strangely, so was I. I stepped forward and took the microphone from her hand. My grip was steady. I didn't even look at her as I spoke. Well, I said, my voice steady but cold, if we're telling the truth now, it's my turn. The hush deepened. Even the band stopped playing. I saw the confusion in some faces, the anticipation in others. The tremble in Delilah's left hand told me she hadn't planned beyond her little revelation. But I had. I'd been planning for years. You see, when a man is called convenient after 40 years of showing up, sacrificing, staying, he learns the value of patience, the strength of silence, and when the time comes, he doesn't need to shout. He simply opens the storm. I loved her once, I said to the room, watching heads tilt and eyes narrow. Not the woman standing next to me, someone else. And she's here tonight. A few murmurs, someone gasping. At a far table. 40 years ago, I continued, I believed in the idea of us. I believed in loyalty, in building something, even if the foundation had already cracked. I stayed for our children. I stayed for appearances. But most of all, I stayed because I was watching, listening, waiting. I turned slightly and let my eyes sweep across the crowd, friends, colleagues, members of Delilah's charity board, her editor, our pastor, all of them frozen. I was never meant to be part of her story. I was a footnote, a well-dressed placeholder. And tonight, I'm done being convenient. I set the microphone down, but only for a moment. I picked up my champagne glass and held it high. To Delilah, I said, to 40 years of theater, of silence, of pretending. I could feel the heat rising under my collar, but I forced a smile. You're right, my dear. You never loved me. But here's the thing. I paused. You underestimated me. Her eyes darted, for the first time, with the hint of fear. I saw it, the tiniest flicker, and I knew I had her. Not with anger, not with volume, but with the truth. Because the truth, when sharpened just right, doesn't need to scream. It slices clean. The guests remained still. Some whispered. Others watched, with the stillness of people who know they're witnessing the collapse of something that once looked indestructible. A 40-year castle, crumbling in a single night. I drank, slowly, deliberately, and placed the glass down beside hers. Then I smiled at Delilah, that same public smile we'd worn like masks for so long. You just opened the door, Delilah, I whispered, so only she could hear. But you forgot. I've been standing on the other side for decades, waiting to step through. And then I walked off the platform, not hurried, not broken, just calm. A man who had just finished the first page of a story no longer about being silent or convenient, but about reclaiming every piece of himself, starting now. They say men hide their secrets in safes or beneath floorboards. But mine? I wore it on my finger for 40 years. Smooth gold, heavy with a history I never spoke of. It was the kind of ring people glanced at and assumed told a happy story. But they didn't know. They never knew. Not even Delilah. Especially not Delilah. The thing is, that ring wasn't meant for her. It was never hers. The truth? It was bought for her sister, Karen. Our family. Together. He looked like he'd been punched. His mouth opened, then shut again. Who is he? He asked finally, voice trembling. I don't know, I said. She never told me his name, just that it was someone who didn't fit her future, someone she discarded. When she needed a husband with clean shoes and family money, she made a choice, and then I made mine. He stared at the floor, trying to put the pieces